Health, Safety, and Human Services Committee to order at 12:03. Roll call, please.
Commissioners Nelson,
Here.
Kokendorfer, Jackson,
Excuse me, do we have to report where we're calling from?
Yeah.
Where
Sure.
thank you. I forgot. Commissioner Nelson,
Waterford Township.
thank you. Old habits die hard. Commissioner Kokendorfer, are you with us yet? No? Jackson,
Here, Southfield.
Markham,
Here, Novi.
Miller, are you here? Howell,
Here. Pontiac.
Pontiac, thank you. Gingell,
Here, Lake Orion.
Hoffman,
Sunny Highland Township.
Loops,
Here from Clausen, Michigan.
thank you. Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you.
Williams
please-
here.
Commissioner Miller's here.
Thank you. And Commissioner Miller, you're calling from where? Or coming in from where?
Farmington, Michigan.
Thank you.
All right, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
To the
and to the
Republic.
republic for which it stands, one
One
nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and
and
justice.
justice for all.
Once again, thank you for the flag, Commissioner Hoffman. All right, next item is approval of the agenda. I need a motion. I have a motion by Commissioner Jackson, support from Commissioner Hoffman. All in favor, any comments on the agenda? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is approved. We move on to public comment. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak?
Good morning. You currently have no public comment in the auditorium, and there are no online or written submissions, and there are no one in the public comment room at this point.
All right, thank you. Public comment is closed. Our next item, communications. There are 4 items under communications. From the Sheriff's Office, the off-road vehicle law enforcement grant application. From Animal Control Disposition Report for October 2020. From the Retirement and Deferred Compensation Board minutes from October. And the VIVA Board minutes also from October. So I'm looking for a motion to receive and file these reports. I have a motion by Commissioner Jackson, support from Commissioner Markham. Any comments on the communications? All in favor of receiving and filing, say aye. Any opposed? All right, the communications are received and filed. Moving on to our regular agenda, the first item is from Health and Human Services, an amendment to the fiscal year 2021 Local Health Department Comprehensive Agreement. I have a motion by Commissioner Nelson and support from Commissioner Gingell. So do we have Leanne? Oh, hi, Leanne. We have Leanne Stafford here to provide some information about this item.
So as you mentioned, this is an amendment to our very large local health department agreement, formerly known as CPDC. So a lot of you maybe have heard us use that acronym before. So the amendment includes increased funding for a little over $1.7 million. And in this amendment, the state has provided additional funding for contact tracing and case investigation, COVID-19 influenza vaccination, so both COVID and influenza vaccination funding if needed. And then $33,000 for non-congregate sheltering, which really is looking to reimburse a Lighthouse and Hope for any COVID-exposed residents or positive patient. And there's some very strict requirements for that. And so we're working on creating those requirements with them now. There is additional money for regional laboratory COVID response. And this is our testing capability. As you know, we're running our testing sites here at the county. And it provides money for us to enhance our lab. And with this, we are asking for 2 part-time special revenue medical technologists to help us increase testing. We'd like to provide additional testing at night to run through our lab an extra shift in the evening. So that's what our part-time staff will help us do.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions regarding this item? All right, roll call, please.
On item number 1, Commissioners Nelson,
Yes.
Okendorfer, Jackson,
Yes.
Markham,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Angel,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Loops,
Yes.
and carry of 8 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, motion is carried. Thank you. Our next few items are also from the Health Department. Item 2 is Amendment 4 to the interlocal agreement with the Oakland Community Health Network for Substance Use Disorder Prevention Services. We'll have a motion by Commissioner Nelson, support from Commissioner Jackson. Leanne, are you ready again?
Yes. So this is continuation funding and just amends the current grant that we have with them in agreement and will push us through 2021. And what this is, same funding amount to a little over $218,000. And this staffs 2 full-time public health educators that do prevention programming and services in schools and communities settings. So they do, we do life skills in elementary, middle school, parent programs, safe dates. We do vaping curriculum, prescription drug disposal, technical assistance. And so that all happens in this program funding. And so this is, again, continuation from next year. And our staff that are in this program have been actually still providing these programs virtual. So they're still providing these programs and this curriculum to the community as the pandemic has continued.
Thank you. Any questions? Commissioner Jackson?
Good question, Leanne. As a member of our local anti-drug coalition in Southfield, is there a way that we may partner with you more efficiently? Because as a representative of Oakland County, they look to me kind of to bring resources from the county. Mm-hmm. And who would I contact in the health department maybe to help me with that?
Well, why don't I reach out and we'll talk through what your needs are, and we'll make sure we connect you with the right person. So I'll reach out to you in the next couple of days and we'll get that started.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Roll call, please.
On item number 2, Commissioners Okendorfer, Jackson,
Yes.
Markham,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Angel,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Luce,
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 8 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion is carried. Thank you. Our next item from our health department is the Oakland Schools Home Visitation Grant Acceptance. A motion from Commissioner Nelson, support Commissioner Jackson.
Well, I might just have to talk through it. I'm sorry.
No, Leanne's camera is a mind of its own.
Yeah, got a mind of its own right now. So this home visitation grant is supports our Nurse Family Partnership Program. This funding supports one full-time public health nurse, and this funding specifically supports the southern region of our county. And so we have one full-time nurse that works with this nationally recognized evidence-based program where we do home visits with mothers that are first-time mothers during and after their pregnancy till the child is age 2. As a reminder, this is kind of an addition to the program. We also have full-time nurses that work specifically in Pontiac. That is a different grant, and this program has really shown that we reduce infant mortality, and has really declined infant mortality by almost 30%. So this is a very important program, very effective program, and is really looked and really utilized by many people in the county. So this funding specifically, though, is for the southern region of our county.
Thank you. Are there any questions? And we're glad to see this continue. Roll call, please.
On item number 3, Commissioners Jackson,
Yes.
Markham,
Yes.
Markham, I couldn't hear you.
Yes.
Okay. Miller,
Yes.
Powell,
Yep.
Angel,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Kokendorfer, Luce.
Yes,
Madam Chair, you have 8 yeas, 0 nays.
that motion carries. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Next item is from the Michigan Drug Court Grant Program Acceptance from the 52 3rd District Court in Rochester. So I have a motion from Commissioner Nelson, support from Commissioner Markham, and we have Amy Luce here to speak to us. Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you for taking the time to listen to what I have to say today. We are here to request approval to accept an $80,000 grant award from the state of Michigan to continue our specialty treatment court program, which is our sobriety court program. In addition, we are asking for a one-time general fund grant match in the amount of $7,478. Our award from the state this year was just over $10,000 less than what we received last year, which was to be expected. I think everyone saw a cut across the board because of largely the economy of the state, as well as the court filings and the impact of COVID on those court filings. I'd like to back up for just a second and explain a little bit about our program. We have been operating successfully for approximately 15 years. Our program is 18 to 24 months, consisting of 3 phases. Each participant must meet certain requirements to advance to the next phase. One thing that is really important about our program is that we have a very collaborative team approach to how we work with participants. Our team consists of a prosecutor, a defense attorney, probation officer, substance abuse counselor, and a judge. And this team meets twice a month and discusses every single participant in the program and where they're at, maybe where they're struggling, if they've violated the terms of the program, what to do to get them on the right path. And when it's important to acknowledge milestones like a year of sobriety, all of those things are very important, and it's a holistic approach. It includes, the substance abuse counseling as well as drug testing, alcohol testing. Participants attend AA and NA meetings. It's really tailored to the individual and their needs as much as possible. So this year was a little bit different for us. Our numbers were down, again, which we kind of expected because of COVID. We have 24 participants currently. Typically, we have about 35 to 40. We did admit 15 new participants this year. The average number of sobriety days across the program was 342, which is very impressive. And we had 15 graduations. So our big obstacle this year was obviously to meet the needs of the participants without having that face-to-face interaction that we're used to. So we switched over to Zoom dockets, Zoom team meetings, Zoom probation officer meetings within a matter of weeks. There really was very little lag time, and when there was lag time, the participants were being addressed over the phone, and any issues or anything that came up were addressed immediately. So there really was not much of a disruption in their treatment, which we are very proud of. We all work together to make that happen. So one of the reasons, or the reasons we are requesting the grant match, is so that we are able to keep a full-time probationer on staff. Even though our numbers are down, we expect them to rebound pretty quickly as we go through the 21 fiscal year. We've all, read the articles and seen the data that substance abuse is increasing, and it's a major issue with COVID, and we expect that we will see the ramifications of that as well on this side. So it is very important to us to be able to keep our staffing where it has been, even though our numbers are down. Now, looking ahead to next year, if our numbers continue to be down, we will reevaluate the program and make cuts where needed. We certainly are not expecting a grant match in the future.
Thank you. I value the specialty courts. I think they are quite effective. So
Thank you.
thank you for doing this. Are there any other comments or Commissioner Jackson?
Thank you. This is quick. Thank you, Amy Lynn, for your presentation. I really am a fan of treatment courts as well, because it provides an alternative to incarceration, which a lot of us are looking at very closely and hoping to assist in. I just had a question, and I always bring this up when you guys present, are the demographics of the successful completions. And as a board, just really attempting to try to even out those numbers a little bit, because it seems to me that the African-American participants in our treatment court programs are kind of skewed. And I don't know the reasons why. I can only speculate. But at the same time, when we see incarceration rates being kind of skewed as well, it's a dilemma. And so what I don't know if I asked you last time, but I would like to get statistics on successful completion with racial demographics, so I can at least help try to promote these courts. I haven't made it to your graduations in the past because they've been in person during work time, but
Sure.
now that maybe things are virtual, maybe I'll be able to view and participate in a graduation. But if you could provide that to me, it would be greatly helpful in my quest to begin looking at it.
Oh, sure. I'd be happy to.
All right, thank you.
Yes, of course.
You need my email?
That would be great. Yeah,
jacksonj@oakgov.com.
great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments? Roll call, please.
On item number 4, Commissioners Markham, Commissioner Markham?
She's
Ooh.
not, mute.
Okay.
Hey,
Oh, she has
Miller?
a up sign.
well, I just want to tell you, I had a commission meeting yesterday.
Commissioner Miller? Oh, we're doing
Yes.
roll call, aren't we?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Miller, this is on number 4.
Commissioner Miller, you're on mute.
Oh, I'm back.
Oh,
I'm
hold
voting
on.
yes.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Powell?
Yes.
Angel?
Yes.
Hoffman?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Okendorfer? Jackson?
Yes.
Miller? Commissioner Miller, can you hear us? We're voting on number 4. Okay.
We'll text them.
Loops?
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 7 yeas and 0 nays.
Thank you. The motion carries. All right, on item number 5, which is the Michigan Drug Court Grant Program, the Adult Treatment Court from Circuit Court for fiscal year 2021. So I have a motion from Commissioner Nelson, support from Commissioner Hoffman. And we have a couple of people here to speak to us. Jackie House Evanson and John Cooperrider. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having us, Commissioners. My name is John Cooperrider. I'm the court's business manager, and I have with me today here our wonderful supervisor of our adult treatment court, Jackie House Evanson. We're here to accept $279,000 in grant funds from the State Court Administrative Office to help fund our adult treatment court. These funds are used to partially fund 2 positions and fully fund 1 other position. These funds are also used to help pay for treatment, therapy, drug testing. We have a mental health liaison position that we pay for, and a peer recovery coach as well. And then a few other miscellaneous operating line items. Our ATC provides nonviolent criminal defendants whose substance abuse leads them to commit crimes a positive alternative of intensive probation and treatment rather than long-term incarceration. It also has a mental health component targeting those with co-occurring disorders. Our drug court team is led by 3 of our judges. Judge Kumar presides over the ATC females. Judge McMillan presides over the males with co-occurring disorders, and Judge Mattis presides over the substance abuse cases. Jackie is here to answer any other types of questions you might have in terms of programming. Or if Jackie, if you have anything else you would like to add, please feel free.
Thank you, John. I just wanted to note that I heard Commissioner Jackson's question. I noted her email, and I will be probably going to get that same question. So I'm just going to beat you to the punch and send information you requested. But I also want to note that your concern is noted nationally. It's not just something that happens with our regional drug courts. There's actually something that NADCAP, the National Association of Drug Court Professionals, has done to intervene in the inequity that's going on. They're actually providing, and our drug court is looking at utilizing this, what they call an equity tool. It basically is a way to analyze our programming to determine where there might be blockades in the process of getting the appropriate referrals and the representation of the full community. So I just wanted to let you know that too, that is something that's in play, and that we're about to utilize that tool. I'm looking at it, how we incorporate it, how we make it work for us. But I did note your question and I got your email. So I'll be contacting you with that information. If there's any other questions about our program, I'd be glad to let the commissioners know. We're very similar to the sobriety courts in that we are intensive supervision. We have, 5 phases. We work on best practices for drug screening, for treatment, for basically everything, supervision, community supervision. It really is about returning people back to their integrity and returning them back to their dignity and dealing with their disease in a therapeutic model with therapy and the criminal justice system combined. So, but if you have further questions, I'm here.
And I just want to add, it can last a lifetime. It's like these type of programs can be life-changing.
It really can be.
Mm-hmm.
It really can be, Commissioner. I agree. I've seen incredible transformations from people that, can't even lift their head and look you in the eye to where they're standing proudly in front of their family, that they gained all those relationships. So yes, it can be. And, we do recidivism studies and we do them 2 and 4 years out. We can't really do it because we can't really attribute the programming to, the longevity of sobriety, but, we have a 24% recidivism rate for our adult treatment court offenders, which I think is pretty darn good 4 years out. When you look at if somebody doesn't get this kind of intervention, they have a 70% chance of recidivism. So, it's phenomenal and it's money saving. I know you guys are a big fan of drug court, and I just never can say enough about it. There's a lot of people here that I know are great cheerleaders for it. And I really appreciate everybody's support.
All right, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Roll call, please.
On item number 5, Commissioners Miller,
Yes.
Howell,
Yes.
Angel,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Ockendorfer here yet? No. Jackson,
Yes.
Markham,
Yes.
Lutz.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 8 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, thank you, everybody. Our next item is similar. It's the Circuit Court Grant Program for the Juvenile Drug Court. So I have a motion by Commissioner Nelson, support from Commissioner Gingell. And we have the same presenters.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Again, we're here to accept $40,000 in grant funds from our State Court Administrative Office to help fund our juvenile drug court. These funds are also used to partially fund 2 of the positions in our juvenile drug court. And our juvenile drug court is a family-focused drug treatment court targeting severe substance abuse youth that are nonviolent repeat offenders charged with alcohol and controlled substance abuse related violations. And our leader for our juvenile drug court team is Judge Mary Ellen Brennan. And again, if Jackie, you have anything that you would like to add, I'm sure, please go ahead.
We've been up and running since 2001. We've helped a lot of families back to function. Again, we do all the best practices, phases, gradated sanctions and incentives, and get really these families back to full functioning because there's such dysfunction when a child is suffering from addiction. But I really don't have anything. I can't say enough about Judge Brennan and all of the judges. I just have to mention that this wouldn't happen without the support of those judges. It's amazing that the dedication that they show doing this for year after year after year. So I just wanted to mention them and give them their due.
Do you know how many young people are enrolled in this program?
Currently our numbers are low, Commissioner Lute. I think we have currently 5. I know we have 5. It's very low, but we're low on the board in the juvenile casework system. But yeah, we currently have 5.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Any comments or questions? Roll call, please.
On item number 6, Commissioners Powell,
Yes.
Gingell,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Markham,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes. And I was a yes on 4. I was having internet issues.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'll mark it
okay.
down. And Lutz,
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 8 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Our next item is from Corporation Council, an amendment to the interlocal agreement for mandated Michigan Indigent Defense Commission Standard 1 continuing legal education requirements. So I have a motion from Commissioner Nelson, support from Commissioner Miller. And let's see, we have Malcolm Brown and Mary Ann here to speak to this.
Yeah, I'm
Right.
having some technical difficulties. Malcolm Brown, I'm the project manager for MIDC, and presenting the matter today will be Mary Ann Yurgi from Corporation Council.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. Michigan Indigent Defense Standard 1 requires all the funding units of the trial courts in our county to provide, pay for, and monitor the continuing legal education that is required by the MIDC. So the Standard 1 requires 12 annual continuing legal education credits, and for experienced attorneys, and 16 hours of basic training for all new attorneys who are performing indigent defense work in the county. 3 years ago, we worked with the cities, villages, and townships of all the non-county funded unit courts to enter into an interlocal agreement so that the county would apply for all the grant funding for Standard 1, and we would contract with a single provider, which is the Oakland County Bar Association. That has been a great program over the last 2 years, and this amendment allows this to extend it another year, and in the future, it will just automatically extend as long as we extend our contract with the Oakland County Bar Association. They have been extremely flexible during COVID. They have done an amazing job of providing live training and everything online so that these attorneys can effectively get all their training done by the end of the year. If there's any other questions?
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
On item number 7, Commissioners Gingell,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Markham,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Lutz.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 8 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion is carried. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Our next item from the Sheriff's Office is contract amendment for law enforcement services in Highland Township. I have a motion by Commissioner Hoffman, support from Commissioner Gingell. And do we have Under Sheriff McCabe and Gaia Peer here? Thank you.
This Highland Township has passed a resolution requesting to add a deputy that will go to the 7 p.m. to 3 a.m. shift out in Highland Township, which will take us to a total of 19 deputies in Highland Township, one short of where we were about 15 years ago. So slowly but surely building back, and if you approve this, there'll be a deputy added at Highland.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? All right, roll call, please.
On item number 8, Commissioners Hoffman,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Okenderfer, Jackson,
Yes.
Markham,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Angel,
Yes.
Luce,
Yes.
Madam Chair, of 8 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, motion is carried. Our next item is, our next few items are from the sheriff's office. Our next item is the contract amendment for law enforcement services in Lyon Township. So I have a motion from Commissioner, who do I have? Commissioner Ginjal, support from Commissioner Jackson.
This is a position being added back into the Lyon Township substation. We originally had 3 deputies that were assigned to the school district. As a result of COVID and school being remotely done, 2 positions were eliminated, so I left 1 in the high school in the township. This will add 1 deputy back to the high school in the city of South Lyon within the school district there. So we're asking you to approve this contract.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Roll call, please.
I just have one quick question. Madam Chair?
Oh, yes, Commissioner Markham.
I just have one quick question. These officers in the schools, are they uniform or are they plainclothes?
They're a combination of both. Sometimes they're in uniform, sometimes in plain clothes.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
They do have a marked patrol car that sits out in front of each high school, so that kind of sends a message that the police are there.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? All right, roll call, please.
On item number 9, Commissioners Nelson,
Yes.
Okenderfer, Jackson,
Yes.
Markham,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Angel,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Loops,
Yes.
Madam Chair, of 8 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, motion carried. Thank you. Our next item, also from the sheriff's office, is the contract amendment for law enforcement services in Orion Township. So I have a motion from Commissioner Ginjal, support from Commissioner Nelson.
This would add another position to the Orion Township substation. This is a deputy that will be working the front desk for walk-ins. We get a large amount of walk-ins at that substation. And as Commissioner Ginjal knows, they're building a new township hall and substation for us. So this will take us to a total of 35 deputies, which includes the lieutenant and the command staff. We're asking you to approve this contract.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Roll call, please.
On item number 10, Commissioners Jackson,
Yes.
Markham,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Angel,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Loops,
Yes.
Madam Chair, of 8 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, motion carries. Thank you. Next item is fiscal year 2021 Secondary Road Patrol and Traffic Accident Prevention Program Grant Amendment over 15% from our sheriff's office. So I have a motion from Commissioner Ginjal, support from Commissioner Nelson.
This, if you'll recall, Commissioners and Madam Chair, earlier this year, we had to eliminate 2 positions from the state grant because of the amount of revenue coming in from the state of Michigan that comes from traffic citations written statewide. After the state looked at the fund, there was enough money for us to add 1 position back. So I'll have a sergeant and 4 deputies for the rest of this fiscal year. I'm not quite sure what will happen going forward.
You're breaking up on your sheriff. And also frozen. All right. Well, it looks like for this item, additional monies was found to.
Madam Chair, Gaia is here. Gaia can continue.
Perfect. Thank you.
So when we accepted the original grant earlier this year, we had to delete 2 positions. This funding is actually letting us add back 1 position. So we're still down a position. So this is covering 1 position and some mileage that we didn't have in the original award.
All right, thank you. Any questions regarding this item? All right, roll call, please.
On item 11, Commissioners Markham,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Gingell,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Loops,
Yes.
and a carry of 8 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion carried. Thank you. Our next item is fiscal year 2021 interlocal agreement with Oakland Community Health Network for medication assisted treatment and jail alliance with support programming positions at the Oakland County Jail. So I have a motion from Commissioner, who would like to make Commissioner Hoffman, support from Commissioner Powell. Thank you. All right, Gaia, it's all yours.
Okay, so this is a continuation of a grant that we've had for many years, and it's continuing 2 full-time positions and 2 part-time non-eligible positions. We have, as mentioned at the beginning, we have Lieutenant Vida and Major Childs and some of the programming staff on the line if you have any specific program questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Lieutenant Vida or Major Childs? It doesn't look like there are any. Are there any other questions regarding this item? It sounds like a long-standing program that's efficient, so therefore no questions. Thank you. All right, roll call, please.
Item 12, Commissioners Markham,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Gingell,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Loops,
Yes.
and a carry of 8 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, thank you. And thank you to, congratulations to Major Childs on his recent award. There were 2 awards through the Sheriff's Department in the last month. So thanks for working for all of us.
Thank you.
Our next item, also from the Sheriff's Department, DNA Enhancement and Backlog Reduction Program from the Sheriff's Department. I have a motion from Commissioner Gingell, support from Commissioner Hoffman.
McCabe's back, if you can hear me.
We can hear you.
Okay, I had to dial in on the phone. I don't know what happened. The camera freezed up, so could not get back in. On this one, if you'll recall, the commission passed a resolution urging the Michigan State Police and with help from the governor and the legislature to get us more money for our DNA backlog. If you'll recall, the state police, I just say it publicly, stuck it to us on this grant and tried to take money away from us. So we submitted a grant separate from their grant. We were awarded this amount, which is about $73,000 less than what we expected, but with Gaia's hard work, we'll be able to, this allowed us to have 2 more positions in the DNA lab for the backlog that we do have, and we do have a backlog. This is a program that's done throughout the country for accredited labs. We are accredited. So we're asking you to accept this today so we can continue to fund these positions. We actually had 3 vacancies. We had a general fund vacancy that we filled and the 2 grant positions that are being paid for by this grant. The last person starts on December 14th. There is quite a training regimen that they have to go through before they're up and running. And just so you know, currently a backlog on property alone is 480 days, and our assaults are about 90 days, which is still ahead of what the state police was offering us, because most of those are 12 months on assault cases and violent crimes. We do move violent crimes up. If there's a homicide or a criminal sexual conduct, those go to the top of the pile. And sometimes we're able to turn those around anywhere from 3 to 12 days based on the priority. So we're asking you to accept this grant this year, and we'll be reapplying again in the future.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoffman?
Thank you, but my question was just answered. Thank you, Under Sheriff McCabe and Gaya.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think we're happy to accept this. Any other questions? Roll call, please.
On item 13, Commissioners Powell,
Yes.
Gingell,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Markham,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Loops.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 8 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion carries. Thank you. Our last item from the sheriff's office is law enforcement services with the Somerset collection. I have a motion from Commissioner, who would like to make a motion? Commissioner Gingell, support from Commissioner Hoffman.
This is a supplemental. We got a call from both the Troy Police Department and Somerset Mall. The head of security at Somerset Mall is a retired lieutenant from the Troy Police Department. And they, for the holiday season, looking for some extra patrols from our mounted unit. So we will be sending out. In fact, we started because of the somewhat of an emergency, and it was a last minute thing. So we did start before the contract was put in place. You can see it's not for a large amount of money. We did start last week for the huge shopping, Black Friday, et cetera. And we'll be going through the holidays, and we're asking you to approve this contract today. And we're happy to provide this service to our friends down in Troy at the police department at Somerset Mall.
Thank you. We are happy to have it. Any comments or questions? Commissioner Hoffman?
Just one question. I assume, does the mall pay extra for this service, or the
Yes,
city?
sir.
of Troy?
It's full cost recovery, including any overtime.
All right, thank you.
Sir.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
On item 14, Commissioners Gingell,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Nelson, Open Director's not here. Jackson,
Yes.
there she is. Markham,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
there you are. Loops,
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 8 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Item 15 is from Public Services Community Corrections Division, authorization to participate in the Harvard study to reduce racial disparities in bail decisions data transfer agreement. So I have a motion from Commissioner Markham, support from Commissioner Miller. And we have Barb Henke here to speak to this.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Commissioners. Basically, this resolution is to authorize the data transfer agreement between Oakland County Community Corrections and Harvard University. in a study that we're hoping that judges throughout the county will agree to participate in regarding racial disparities and reducing implicit bias on bail decisions.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? All right, roll call, please.
On item 15, Commissioners Hoffman,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Jackson,
I was right there, but I held my comment back, but I just wanted to say, an emphatic yes.
okay. Markham,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Howell,
Yes.
Gingell,
Yes.
Loops,
Yes.
and I'm sure you have 8 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Barb. All right, our next item is from Parks and Rec, the approval of fiscal year 2021 Michigan Department of Natural Resources Off-Road Vehicle Trail Improvement Fund Program Award. So I have a motion from Commissioner
Nelson?
Thank you. And support from Commissioner Hoffman. And we have Dan Stencil here to talk to this.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is an annual grant opportunity for the park system. This is specifically going to be used for enhancing some of the parking on the site, as well as dust and noise control.
Thank you. I know a few of us were able to tour the park. It's a large park, so I certainly can understand the dust control for that. Any comments or questions? Roll call, please.
On item 16, Commissioners Nelson,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Markham,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Howell,
Yes.
Gingell,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Loops,
Yes.
and I'm sure you have 8 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, motion carries. All right, next few items are from Parks and Rec. The next item is a residential lease for the Hat Groveland Oaks. So I have a motion from Commissioner
Nelson?
Thank you. Support from Commissioner, who would like to support? Commissioner Gingell, thank you. All right.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Again, this time I have Phil Castoni, our Chief of Business Operations, who will take you through this and the next item when it's up on the residential lease of the Groveland residents.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is a standard 5-year residential lease, which we've had in front of you before for one of our park residences. This is under a policy approved by the Parks Commission. These are properties that are on our park property that we have either employees or former employees or living in. They are done with a market study by facilities management, and then the lease is reviewed by Corporation Counsel. This is just a renewal of the current occupants who are both part-time employees at Groveland Oaks.
Thank you. Any comments or questions?
I would just like to add that this and the next property are both back in the 70s. The Parks Commission required that their park supervisors live on site, and these are we have three bedroom ranch houses that were built in the early 70s that we continue to have park staff for, largely eyes and ears when our staff is not around.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Roll call, please.
On item number 17, Commissioners Jackson,
Yes.
Markham,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Howell,
Yes.
Angel,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Loops.
Yes.
Madam Chair, we have 8 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, motion carries. Thank you. Next item, as Mr. Stencil reported, is a residential lease at Springfield Oaks from our Parks and Rec. I have a motion by Commissioner Hoffman, support from Commissioner Angel.
Sorry.
This is a house at Springfield Oaks, again, a renewal lease. Current person living there is a retired employee. They've been there at least the last 5 years, and it might be a few more. Again, market study was conducted by Facilities Management, lease reviewed by Corporation Counsel, and providing eyes and ears for the parks for us.
Thank you. Any questions regarding this lease, this item? Roll call, please.
On item number 18, Commissioners Markham,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Howell,
Yes.
Angel,
Yes.
yep, Hoffman,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Loops.
Yes.
Madam Chair, we have 8 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, bye. All right, one of our last items, second to last item, is resolution to further educational attainment compensation incentive program for Oakland County Sheriff's Office deputies. This is a recommendation to the board from Commissioner Miller. I have a motion from Commissioner Miller, support from Commissioner, who would like to support? Commissioner Markham. Commissioner Miller, is there anything you'd like to add regarding this item?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So this is something I believe is very important for it, especially the direction the county's going in, is we're compensating people for skills, education. This is retaining employment that we've always been talking about. And also, if you look at, let me count them here. I think it's the fourth whereas down, which I feel is very important. It also goes into, it sums up is that, officers with, or police force with a degree, there's more likelihood for them to ask questions. It reduces the force to gain their first opinion, to gain compliance. It also demonstrates greater levels of creativity and problem-solving skills, which I think is something we should also give a benefit to our deputies, because they took that time to do education. We're also talking about in Oakland County about, looking at reform and taking different classes and making sure stuff doesn't happen here that's happened other places, which I'm not saying will, but, like this stuff's happening. But, I think it's very important that we look at these things, and this is one of the main drives for this compensation here.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Hoffman?
I'm not sure exactly what your intent is by this resolution, but don't we already have tuition reimbursement for the employees at the county, which includes the sheriff department?
We do. This is to give a stipend, as you'd say, or an incentive for a college education.
All right, could you explain that, please? Because we already have tuition reimbursement.
Right, so we have tuition reimbursement for them to get the degree, right? Or masters or whatever they're going for. So they're taking the time, their own time to do this. They get tuition reimbursement, right? Which is a benefit to the county. It's looking at is they're taking their time. So we should give them that benefit, right? And compensate them for taking that time outside of, we all work in jobs, and some jobs, if you have different degrees, get you different levels, right? So we're trying to attract, retain, and maintain the workforce, right? And this is just another piece to that.
Okay, but I still don't follow. We offer tuition reimbursement. Are you suggesting that we pay them to go to college and then pay for their tuition too? Is that what this is? I'm not clear on it. And then whatever it is, I just wonder what the cost is.
We can get the cost. I don't have the exact number.
Commissioner Miller, this is Barbara. So the
Yes, ma'am.
resolution is asking for a cost and analysis from the executive office. So it's not a done deal. They are going to look into it and then report back to the Board of Commissioners findings.
Okay, but I'm still not clear. Are you suggesting, Commissioner Miller, that you use the word incentive? Are you talking about we pay them to go to college? Is that what you're saying?
No, it's giving them an incentive after they retain their degree, right? So they did the work, so now we're giving them an incentive by paying them a little more for having that degree.
That sounds like a bonus for obtaining a bachelor's, master's degree. Is that what's happening?
Correct.
Thank you. Commissioner Gingell?
So wait, one more question.
Oh,
Sorry,
sorry.
Commissioner Gingell. So if everybody who gets a 4-year degree can't just select the sheriff department, so you'd have to do this with all employees, right? And plus you have the issue of bargaining units. How is that going to impact it? I just think we have to be, go ahead, sorry.
To answer your first question is, if you want to put up a resolution for all employees, I mean, I'm all for that. I'll second that with you. And the second is, you bring up bargaining this is an incentive we're trying to give as the Board of Commissioners, and it's not a mandatory subject of bargaining is this subject right here. So I'm curious on the bargaining comment.
Well, I'm just wondering if we create a program like this for select few, I don't know how that impacts the fact that they are a bargaining unit and they negotiate for the things they want.
Well, so how it impacts them is if the county can give them extra, right, in a benefit because they're trying to retain them. As you see, we're doing all over the county. We're trying to figure out what's the best way to maintain, retain our employees and to, entice people to come here. So especially the sheriff, the deputies, I mean, that's one of the hardest. You'll hear around the country that the law enforcement has a problem hiring or even retaining.
I think the biggest thing is the wage they receive. That would be the way that I'd hire better employees.
Well, I'm
just saying, it's competition for labor.
If you want to give a resolution to raise the wages for any people, I'll back you on that for the employees.
Thank you. Commissioner Gingell?
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. So if I'm reading this resolution, it kind of mixes two things, but in the end, it looks like we're just asking for the Human Resources Department to conduct a thorough review of educational attainment incentive for law enforcement and present a report back. So we're not approving anything other than asking the HR department to look into the situation. And if I may, Madam Chair, I would ask that the HR department provide the funding source that this incremental funding would come from within the budget. And to Commissioner Hoffman's point, help us understand how an incentive like this may or may not impact bargaining with particular unions or merit employees, which is what governs, generally the county employees. I think it'd be important for us to understand that because this is really talking about we want to pay people to go to school in either a bonus or some other type of financial reward, and we want to pay for their education, which may be the right thing to do. But I think we really need to understand the details of it. And I think the details come into how do we pay for it and how does it impact bargaining negotiations with particular unions or merit-based employees. So if we could have that included, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoffman?
Plus, if we have an issue obtaining and retaining sheriff deputies, I think we have to look at all those reasons. And I have employees, I compete for labor every day. I can tell you it's hard to get truck drivers. So the wages have gone way up over the last few years. And we have to, if we're going to do this, we have to have the right incentive. I just really don't see this one as one that's going to retain or get somebody else to come here. I think they look at what the starting pay is and the step increases and that type of thing. So I think we need to look at that too and see what would be the best incentive to do what you've suggested, Commissioner Miller, because I agree with you. We want to do those things. Thank you.
Commissioner Miller?
Well, I'll let Commissioner Markham go. She hasn't gone yet.
All right, Commissioner Markham?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The City of Novi Police Department requires all of their officers to have a college degree, and many of them have master's degrees. And since I was involved as a member of City Council, so that goes back to 2013 that it's been that way. But I don't know, I'm sure along the way, people obtained their degree while the police officers, once the city made this their policy. So I would suggest, if HR is going to look at this, to talk to Novi about what we do, how we do it. Is there an incentive program? Because there been at one time, and Bob Gann, the mayor, for a while. So, and he's over at Animal Control, so somebody could talk to him, because he, as mayor, he's very proud to tell people that our police department is all college educated. Everybody has a college degree. So I would suggest that, like I said, people talk to the City of Novi about it and get the details about how their program operates and how they do this. Because fundamentally, the statistics, Commissioner Miller is right, the statistics show that the higher education of the patrol officers and everybody else, the more likely they are to use better police practices dealing with the public. So, yeah, I would talk to Novi about how they do it.
Thank you. Commissioner Miller?
Madam Chair. So I agree with Commissioner Markham. She on that the point that I was going to say, as well as so the question is how will it impact bargaining? I guess unless the sheriff's office wants to use it as leverage, that's the only way it would impact it. So if we're given a benefit, I don't see why the sheriff's office would be against it, for the fact that it's benefiting their deputies, right? So
Commissioner Miller,
that's the only way it would impact it, if their plan was to use it as some kind of leverage.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
It sounds like there's support for this resolution and the additional language to provide a funding source in review for that. Is that correct?
Can you hear me? Madam, yeah, we can hear you, Commissioner Miller. It's Barbara again. So Commissioner Miller has an amendment to the resolution. I have emailed it to all of the members. I don't know if you received it. If not, I can share it on the screen.
Did you guys hear me the bargaining part?
Yes.
Okay, you said I was broken up, so I wasn't sure if you heard that.
Oh, sorry. So no. So Madam Chair is saying that she didn't.
Okay, I can repeat it for you. So the question was how I don't know, something was happening with my computer. How would this affect bargaining? And the only way it would affect it is if the sheriff office wanted to use it as leverage in bargaining, which I wouldn't see why they would want to, because this benefits the deputies that are under the sheriff, right? So this would be a benefit, you would think, right? So that's the only reason it would be it would affect bargaining, if that was one of the agenda items that the sheriff office wanted to use as leverage against the deputies.
All right, so in the amendment reports, be it resolved that the Oakland County Board of Commissioners requests that Oakland County Executive Office conduct a thorough review of educational attainment incentive for law enforcement programs and present a report to the board with a recommendation. So what's different is taking out Human Resource Department and Oakland County Sheriff's and replacing it with the Oakland County Executive Office.
Correct.
Commissioner Ginto?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I mean, to me, that's a friendly amendment. I mean, the Human Resource Department reports up to the County Executive Office, so it's kind of 6 one way, half dozen the other. But I do just have a question on this overall concept. So was this resolution or the intent behind it discussed at all with the sheriff or the undersheriff? Or has it been?
I've had a conversation with the undersheriff yesterday.
So were they involved in the development of the concept or just informed of it?
They were informed.
Hey, Commissioner Hop.
I understand that HR reports to the executive branch, but I still think we should leave the executive in there, HR, and the sheriff department. This has got to be a collaborative type discussion. So if they want to add that to include the county exec, I have no problem. It should be, but it should also be the sheriff department and then input from HR, and whoever else they deem necessary.
All right, so Pam has a comment or a question.
Madam Chair, if you like, I can share the screen and we will need a motion to move the amendment if you'd like.
Sure, that would be fine. Commissioner Miller?
I move it.
Yeah, thank you. So we have a motion by Commissioner Miller. Is there any support?
On the amendment.
Yeah, I'll support it.
Support by Commissioner Markham. Commissioner Gintel?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I guess I would just ask, why would we take out the county sheriff's office as part of the inclusion?
And I think we should.
We should take it out?
No.
Commissioner Miller?
No, I think we should keep them.
Yeah, so maybe I could just, if I could make a friendly amendment to this amendment, that we just include the sheriff's office. I don't have a problem changing the county executive office. I mean, HR reports up to the county executive office. I don't know why we couldn't just say Human Resources, Oakland County Executive Office, and the Sheriff's Office, because really HR is going to have to recommend any type of personnel policy. I think they're the ones that actually oversee the college reimbursement program. And so ultimately they're going to be involved.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoffman?
I support that friendly amendment, and it also goes along with Commissioner Miller, because his original motion said Human Resources and the Sheriff Department. All we're doing is adding the executive office, and I think that would be fine.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Miller, do you have any objection to the friendly amendment?
I appreciate the friendly amendment. So yeah, I do have an objection, and believe it's the best interest to just have the executive office do it, and then, move from there.
That Commissioner Ginzel?
So we have an amendment, a motion to adopt an amendment on the floor, right?
Right.
Okay, so I would like to make a motion that we amend the amendment to read the County Executive Office, Human Resources Department, and the Oakland County Sheriff's Office. And again, I'll move that amendment to the amendment.
Thank you. Yeah, Commissioner Hoffman?
And Commissioner Miller, I'm not sure why you'd be against this, because your first resolution said the Human Resource Department and the Sheriff Department, and this is going to impact, you want something to help the Sheriff Department, but you don't want their involvement. That's kind of surprising.
Thank you. Commissioner Miller?
Well, and as I stated before, it's best interest for the executive office, and I'll be voting no on Commissioner Ginzel's friendly amendment.
All right, so let me understand this. So the original resolution called for HR and Sheriff's Department, and the amendment calls for the Executive Office. The next amendment is the Executive Office, HR, and the Sheriff's Department, correct? Do I have that right?
Correct. Yes. So the Commissioner Miller amendment is only executive office conducts the review. Commissioner Ginzel amendment ask executive office and sheriff's office both conducts the review. So I think you have to vote first on Commissioner Miller amendment that has motion.
So, Madam Chair, point of order.
Yes.
Point of order, Madam Chair. So
Yes.
Commissioner Miller put up an amendment to the resolution. I offered a friendly amendment, which was rejected. So I've now put forward a formal amendment to the amendment, which includes the Executive Office, Human Resources Department, and Oakland County Sheriff's. I believe Robert's Rules of Order and Protocol would be that the amendment to the amendment needs to be voted on first. If it's accepted, then it would be the resolution as amended with my changes. If it's denied, then it would be a resolution with the amendment that is then proposed by Commissioner Miller. That would be how the process would have to work.
Thank you. And that's what I thought my clarification was. So what we're voting on is the amendment for the Executive Office, Human Resources, and the Sheriff's Department. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. All right. Let us vote on that.
Okay, roll call on the Ginzel amendment to add county executives, HR, and Oakland County Sheriff's Office.
Yes.
Commissioners Jackson?
Commissioner Jackson reported about 3 minutes ago that she had to leave the meeting.
Okay, I'm sorry. I had a technical issue and I got kicked off. I had to come back. Okay, so absent. Markham?
Yes.
Miller?
No.
Powell?
Yes.
Ginzel?
Yes.
Hoffman?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Ockendorfer is not here. Lubes?
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 6 yeas and 1 nay. Motion carried.
Thank you. The motion carries. So we have the resolution with the 3 entities involved in that.
Amendment, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So now it's on the resolution as amended, I believe, Madam Chair. Is that correct? Just trying to follow.
Okay, so Miller's amendment is no longer on the table?
Correct.
This is an amendment to the amendment. Okay.
Correct.
On the resolution as amended, Commissioners Powell?
Yes.
Ginzel?
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Markham,
Yes.
Miller, Miller,
Yes.
Cass, Loops,
Yes.
Miller,
No.
Madam Chair, you have 7 yeas, 6 yeas, and 1 nay.
All right, motion carries. Thank you, everybody. That we all move forward, and it's nice to be able to hear everyone's thoughts. Our last item on our agenda today is a presentation from the Huron-Clinton Metropolitan Authority with Amy McMillan, and looks like Jay also. Yes.
Good
All right.
afternoon. Good afternoon, Chairwoman Lubes, Commissioners. It's good to see you again. Well, sort of see you again as we see each other in 2020. So as you know, I'm the Oakland County, your appointment to the Huron-Clinton Metropolitan Authority Board, and wanted to come forward and give you what I guess we'll call the COVID update, because that's kind of where we are. One of the things that we found, I think that everybody found this year, was that parks and outdoor recreation were a literal godsend. And while we struggled mightily to keep up, I think as everybody did, with our ever-changing world, I am here to report that our park staff, our administration, the workers did an amazing job. And I am happy to take any questions you have, but I am going to turn it over to Amy McMillan, our director, who has a really great report on some of the things that, some of the results and some of the things that are happening going forward.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Quadrosi, and thank you so much, Commissioners, for including me on the agenda this afternoon. I appreciate it so much. And I'd also like to just start by congratulating you on your most recent successful millage campaign. I've run several countywide millage campaigns in the past, and it's an extraordinary effort, and just huge congratulations to Dan Stencil and his entire team for that successful campaign. I am looking forward to sharing with you this afternoon a little bit of the work that we've been doing over the course of really the last year. Part of it is related to the pandemic, of course, but also a project we started about a year ago now to define the economic benefits of the metro parks across the entire region. And so if you will give me just a second here, we're going to share the screen and share some information with you about this project. Oops.
You should be able now. Okay, perfect.
Thank you. I think that did it. Awesome. Thank you so much. So one of the things I think everybody on the board knows is that the Metro Parks is a regional park system that includes 5 counties, and our Oakland County parks within the Metro Park system are circled on the screen for you. They're Indian Springs, Kensington, Indian Springs and Kensington, and now I'm missing the other segment for you. Oops, no, but Sean, this made me leave the meeting.
Stony Creek.
There we go, Stony Creek. I'm sorry, I was having a hard time moving the presentation forward. So much like the Oakland County parks, the Metro Parks offer a wide variety of opportunities across the nearly 25,000 acres of southeastern Michigan. I've been at the Metro Parks for a little over 2 years now, and I came from back to the Metro Parks really after being an intern in 1988, and brought with me a renewed commitment to serving parks and recreation needs throughout the region. And some of the initiatives that we've started over the course of the last 2 years and are focused on going forward include a DEI initiative, diversity, equity, inclusion, which we've had some really great results with so far, although we still have a tremendous amount of work to do. We are making data-driven decisions. And so if you visited one of our parks, including Stony Creek, Kensington, or Indian Springs, and you have an annual permit, you'll notice that we scan those every time. And that helps us see where folks are coming from and also identify gaps that we need to do a better job in serving. We provide great outdoor recreation opportunities and connectivity throughout the entire region. One of the pieces of data that we wanted to gather when we started was just to really understand what our brand position is within the region. And so we worked with Epic MRA last summer to do a survey throughout the entire region and determined who knew about the metro parks, which metro parks they knew about, and how that broke down throughout the region. And so as you can see, we have a pretty good brand position to start with. Some of our parks are better known than others.
Hello?
Yes?
You are not presenting. Is it on purpose? Your presentation is not seen. Is it on purpose? You turn it off. Do you want me to? I can turn it. Okay, so I can. Is this the slide you would like to be on?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, perfect. So let's leave it this. So just if you're ready for next slide, just tell me, please. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Move ahead.
Thank you. Sorry.
So one of the things that we also wanted to do was to determine what the economic benefits of the metro parks are. We know that there is a tremendous amount of great quality experience and being out in parks, being out in nature. I think as Commissioner Quadrosi said, and I saw all of the heads nodding, that that this year more than ever, people understand the innate value of parks and recreation. But we know that because people pay taxes to the metro parks, as they do to other public park systems, that it's important to make sure that that we can tell the story of the dollars and cents that the metro parks bring throughout the region. So our Board of Commissioners approved a contract with the Trust for Public Land in order to begin this study last year. The Trust for Public Land is really kind of the gold standard in doing this work. They've done landmark projects throughout the United States. Ours is the first one that they did in the state of Michigan, and it is the first multi-jurisdictional 5-county project that they have done anywhere. So it was a great experience for us here at the Metro Parks and also for the Trust for Public Land. Please move ahead. Thank you. So there are several key takeaways from this, this economic benefits study. The first of which is that the Metro Parks have the work that we do here at the Metro Parks, the people who visit the Metro Parks, the benefits that they gain result in $90 million in direct visitor spending throughout the region. And by direct visitor spending, those are just the dollars that are coming in to the region and the benefits of that. That is not the economic impact that rolls out in a domino effect throughout the region. The direct spending in and of itself is $90 million. Part of that is creating recreational value. Part of that is improving health of our residents and lowering healthcare costs. We enhance property values. We reduce stormwater management costs throughout the region. Reducing air pollution has a tremendous benefit back again to our health and wellness. And we attract visitors and propel economic development. Next slide, please. So one of the things that's important to know about the Trust for Public Land study is each of the dollars that are reported are the very least value that comes back, the very least economic benefit that comes back to the region as a result of the Metro Parks. And that's really intentional so that folks can know that it's likely that there is a higher value, but there is not a lower value than what we are reporting. So simply by the number of people who come into the metro parks on a regular basis throughout the entire year, that active and passive use of the metro parks in and of itself has a $62.3 million benefit to residents who come to the metro parks every year. Residents gain value by coming in, and once they get into the park, we have many free opportunities to use the parks, and there are some activities that are additionally available for low costs. Residents who, when we looked at the overall region to determine how many people throughout southeastern Michigan visit parks at least once a year, nearly 62% of kids come to a public park at least once a year, and nearly just a little over 68 million adults do the same. The metro parks have, prior to the pandemic, and of course our visitorship has greatly increased, but on average we have about 5.6 million visitors every year, and that in and of itself has a $32 million recreational use value. Next slide, please. So one of the big benefits I think we've all seen this summer when we were stuck indoors and this spring and even continuing forward to this winter is that getting outdoors is important to our physical health, it's important to our mental health, it's important to our sense of community. But that also has a dollars and cents value. And these values are in a non-COVID environment, but adults who come outside and exercise regularly in public parks save anywhere from $1,250 a year for non-senior citizens. And if you're a senior citizen, the benefit is around $2,500 a year in cost savings. So overall to our region, that represents $30.3 million in combined healthcare savings, which of course come back to employers who are saving on healthcare costs, including Oakland County and our local businesses. Next slide, please. Thank you. So this will come as no surprise to you on the Oakland County Board, but people who live closer to parks have an increase in their property values because public parks have such a high value. And here at the Metro Parks, that is the same. Now we measured a pretty close distance to the Metro Parks. We didn't look out miles away, but these are folks who are right within our borders. And the manner in which we increase property values equals about $60 million of increased property value throughout the region, which again brings back nearly $1 million in additional property tax values locally, which allows local units to help fund their own parks and recreation departments, their own police departments, their own health departments. It's a virtuous cycle. Next slide, please. One of the things I don't know that everybody thinks about is that, because we think of parks as these places where we come to experience nature or participate in activities, but one of the primary things that parks do is they help to manage stormwater. And stormwater management has a cost that's associated with it, and the Metro Parks have a value that we bring back to our local communities in the stormwater management functions of the Metro Parks. Some of those stormwater functions are natural by virtue of the fact that we have wetland properties, but many of those projects that we do are very intentional with the idea of being able to reduce stormwater to make our ecosystem much more healthy and to improve the quality of all of our watersheds. So if you look throughout the entire region, the Metro Parks reduce stormwater runoff by over 276 million cubic feet every single year, which results in a benefit to the region of $30.3 million. In Region 3, which is where Oakland County is located, a big chunk of that work goes on, and that's nearly $7 million of economic benefit back to the communities based on the work that we do here at the Metro Parks. Next slide, please. One of the things I was really surprised by as we started doing this work was how low the general air quality is in southeastern Michigan as a whole. There are some areas where it's better than others, but as a region, we have a lot of work to do in this area. And when we were working with the Trust for Public Land in order to assign an economic benefit, there was a tremendous amount of attention paid to the tree canopy in each of our parks in order to calculate this benefit, which is about $2.25 million a year by removing pollution from the air. Next slide, please. And of course, bolstering tourism is not something that we had a whole lot of opportunity to do this summer as folks stayed closer to home. But with the tremendous variety of recreational opportunities we offer in the Metro Parks, many of them are water-based, and there's nothing better to do in the summer in Michigan than to be on the water. It's one of our greatest attractions and best experiences. The Metro Parks attract about $92.4 million in direct visitor spending from tourism. So those are folks who come here, they spend their money while they're here, and they leave it behind. Next slide, please. Oakland County overall has been doing just extraordinary work since it seems like the beginning of time in economic development. And I know that's one of the things that Oakland County is so well known for and is the subject of no little envy outside of Oakland County. And so you know better than most that one of the key drivers of economic development, of bringing businesses to an area, attracting well-qualified employees, getting folks to stay in a region. It's not just enough to bring people here, but to keep people who live in the area staying in the area is such an important part of the work that we all do. And parks are a critical element of that. In the Metro Parks, people who come to the Metro Parks, who live in this area, spend about $678 million in sporting stores throughout the year on an average year. That creates about 3,100 jobs directly in those businesses and in those establishments. So in addition to drawing visitors to the area, in addition to bringing skilled workers to the area, places that people want to stay, which now that so many of us are working remotely is more important than ever. There is that direct investment in the local economies for people who want to do things like paddle and bike ride and hike and shoot gorgeous photographs like so many people do here in the Metro Parks. Next slide, please. So if any of your constituents are asking you about this report and really what it means to them, this is a great page that you can take from the report that's available online to just provide them with a summary of the economic value of the economic benefits, that the Metro Parks bring to the region every single year. Next slide, please. And again, if you're looking for the full report, go to our website. You can click on the link there and you can download it, you can forward it, you can share whatever information that you'd like to share out, because if we have this great economic benefit within the Metro Parks as a whole, and two of our biggest parks, and two of our most visited parks are within Oakland County. You can only imagine what the economic benefit of the Oakland County parks, which are all located within your county, provide back to the region. Next slide, please. So Commissioner Quadrosi mentioned that we were going to also provide some information for you on how the Metro Parks are surviving the pandemic. I think at the time that we originally scheduled this presentation, we all hoped that we would be saying how the Metro Parks survived the pandemic, but we know this is an ongoing experience. So we'll come back and let you know how we did when it's all over. But one of the things that we included within the Trust for Public Land report, and you'll see it there, was a number of references to how business took place in the Metro Parks during the pandemic, because without that, it would have been out of date right away. So going back to September, we had an overall increase in our vehicle traffic in the Metro Parks, folks who came in cars, not on bikes or on foot, of 28%, which is a tremendous reversal of our attendance trends over the course of the last 10 years or so. This increase in attendance through September, and it is even a much sunnier picture through the end of the year, represented about a $10 million increase in our tolling revenue. And that was even given several programs that we put in place early on in the pandemic. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, all of our parks were open for free. On Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays right now, they are currently open for free because we are under restrictions. And we were so incredibly grateful that we were able to maintain our parks and have them open during the pandemic. That was not a given for any public park agency in March. And so just extraordinarily grateful to everyone who made that happen, and particularly our staff who made certain that the parks were safe and accessible during the pandemic. Next slide, please. And these are just some snapshot shots, of our monthly trends. In May, we were up a ridiculously high amount of nearly 45% in the number of people who came into the parks. Still up nearly 20% in July, and that's with several key attractions closed. For example, our water park at Lower Huron, Turtle Cove, was closed. We had some closings of our disc golf courses early on in the pandemic. And in September, we were up 31.3% in comparison to the same time last year. Next slide, please. So what really saved us economically throughout the pandemic was golf. And there are just really no words for us to be able to describe how surprised we were by this, to be perfectly honest with you. Normally, if a season starts out slowly, it's rainy and cold in May and June, we will never make that up by the time the year is over. It's almost impossible to make those rounds up. And so when there were significant restrictions on golf at the beginning of the season, trying to think of the least colorful language to describe our concerns about that. But to say we were worried is pretty much the understatement of the year. And at the end of the day, golf has saved our economic backsides throughout the pandemic. You can see how it looked throughout the course of the summer, but what really just had us on the floor, frankly, a couple of weeks ago when we were looking at the year-end numbers, was the total number of rounds of golf that were played. Frankly, we usually close the golf courses a lot earlier in November than we did this year, but we thought, oh, folks are stuck with us. If we get some nice days, we want to give them the opportunity to get out as a way of thanking them. And it was incredible. Golf in 2020 we had 10 times as many rounds of golf in 2020 as we did in 2018. We had more than 10 times as many rounds of golf played in November 2020 than we did in 2019. It was just incredible. And we are, if you were someone who golfed on one of our courses, we thank you and appreciate everything that you did to come out and spread the good word. Next slide, please. And so it wasn't just disc golf, or I'm sorry, not just regulation golf that was an incredible experience for us this year. Now, we closed disc golf down early in the spring because, frankly, disc golfers just were not paying attention to social distancing, and we were getting all kinds of complaints from other folks, and we were worried about what that meant for people being exposed to disc golf. So we shut our courses down. We sucked up the comments that we got from disc golfers on social media about it. We reminded people to pay attention to social distancing. And when we opened back up, people came back disc golf, and they complied with social distancing requirements. So at Stony Creek, which I am assured is one of our most awesome disc golf courses, and that's usually the phrase that I hear, we had over 14,000 rounds of disc golf year to date, even with the closures. That's up 40% in comparison to 2019. And that experience was the same at our courses at Hudson Mills, Willow, and Kensington as well. 23,000 rounds of disc golf in a shortened season, at Kensington in comparison to 16,000 in 2019. Next slide, please. One of our biggest challenges this year was whether we were going to be able to open our pools, and we made a big commitment to work really hard to make this happen in the front end of the pandemic. In addition to local health department rules, there were also a lot of challenges in being able to get our lifeguards trained adequately. So we were super proud of being able to get 2 of our pools open this summer. Willow and Lake St. Clair opened late, and they opened under severely restricted operations in segments throughout the day. But it made a big difference to people who count on those public pools as part of their health and recreation opportunities throughout the summer. Next slide, please. And of course, the last but not least of the news that we have for you today is an exciting new multi-year partnership with the Detroit Riverfront Conservancy. Next slide, please. This partnership was just approved by our Board of Commissioners in November. It is a pilot partnership. It was originally intended to be 5 years. It's 7 years because the opening of the area that is the focus of our partnership has been delayed due to construction delays with the pandemic, but we are super excited about this partnership. Part of the reason we're very excited about the partnership is it will give the Metro Parks a presence on the ground in the city of Detroit, which has been a decades-long goal for our organization. But we're also very excited because the riverfront, as great a job as it does in serving City of Detroit residents, their overall attendance, which is over 3 million people a year, includes about 30% of that group. So over 1 million people who visit the riverfront every year come from outside of the City of Detroit to enjoy this really unique space. So keep your eyes open on our website for more information going forward in the future. Next slide, please. These are just a couple of views of what the new Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Centennial Park will look like on the riverfront. Next slide, please. These are some shots from some of the programming partnership that we've had in place with the Riverfront Conservancy for the last year. Next slide, please. And like all things that have occurred during the pandemic, the Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Parks design started in one place, and given the experience of the pandemic, has ended up in another. So one of the things visitors to the riverfront consistently talked about was the ability to interact with the waterfront, but also to connect with nature. And this new design allows for a more natural experience within the park, and really will sort of create a metro park within Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Park. Next slide, please. And some of the activities that we'll bring to the riverfront are kayaking, wading, paddling. If the weather cooperates, ice skating will occur, some hockey. And the work that we'll be doing in programming will be both on site and throughout the entire Detroit community. Next slide, please. Here's a little better view of what the area will look like. If you've seen past renderings, this is the latest and greatest. Next slide, please. So this is it for my presentation today. I thank you so much for your time, and I hope that we've been able to share some additional information with you about the work that we're doing. If there is ever a time when you have a question or you have a concern about the Metro Parks, if there is an opportunity for us to continue to partner with Oakland County in new and expanded ways, we already have a really vibrant partnership with the county through our joint pass sales, with some of the programming that we do through statewide organizations that Dan Stencil and I work together on that address larger policy issues that impact recreation and park departments throughout the state of Michigan. But wherever there are additional opportunities to partner, we are going to be there. So please let us know. And then just finally, as we're scrolling through our parks in Oakland County, I really want to recognize Dan Stencil. He has been a colleague of mine for many years, but one of the great outcomes of the pandemic for me here at the Metro Parks is that those of us who lead large public recreation departments, parks and recreation departments in southeastern Michigan, were able to be a support group from one another, to bounce ideas off of one another, to share experiences, and that was its own tremendous benefit. So thank you, everyone. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you. Thank you. I, along with our Oakland County Parks, and I and my family and Scouts use Kensington and Stony Creek a great deal. Kensington for camping too.
Oh, that's great.
Are there any comments or Commissioner Markham?
Yes, thank you very much for your presentation, Ms. McMillan. I love the parks, Oakland County Parks, the Metro Parks. The first time I went to Kensington, I grew up in Pontiac, and this would have been back in the 60s, that, you know, it was very exotic to go out to Kensington and go tobogganing, you know, and now I live near there in Novi. So, and I've really enjoyed watching the parks develop over the years. You didn't talk much about biodiversity and wildlife habitat and protection and restoration of the habitats. I really feel like the parks, the big parks especially, have a responsibility going forward to really protect that, because these pieces of land were set aside, you know, many decades ago, and we've watched lots of encroachment all the way around. And many times in my own head, I've thought how grateful I am that these pieces of property were set aside. But I also think that we have a responsibility to make sure that they're being managed such that we are restoring the wildlife habitat as much as we can, and we are moving toward enhancing and retaining as much biodiversity as we can. So I didn't see that in your presentation. I'm assuming there's efforts in that regard at the parks, and maybe next time you come talk to us, I'd be interested to hear a little more about that kind of activity. Also, native and invasive plants, and you know how the parks are kind of dealing with that whole topic. But
we would love to come back.
Presentation. This is not a criticism. It's just, you know, my area of interest. So.
Sure, we would love to come back and update you on that. As you may know, we have a natural resources department within the Metro Parks that focuses on just that kind of work. We can, if you go on our website, it can give you some additional information before I come back. But one of the things that we did right away when I came to the Metro Parks was to expand our no-mow zones within the Metro Parks. If you've been at Kensington recently and at Stony, you might have seen the difference. It takes a while for that to sort of take hold after a period of time. We're hard at work on removing invasive species, and I'll provide a full update too, but thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you. Presentation part of our, will it be part of our minutes so we receive and file this report?
We would need a motion to receive and file.
Okay. I have a motion by Commissioner Markham, and I have support from Commissioner
Nelson.
Thank you, Commissioner Nelson. All right, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so the presentation is received and filed into our minutes. We have more knowledge about Huron-Clinton Metro Parks. Are there any other questions or comments regarding the parks? All right, thank you, Amy. Thank you, Jay. Is there any other business to come before this committee? All right, seeing none, then I will adjourn the committee at 1:59.